In this lesson, we're gonna learn about routing in Laravel. Basically, routing is a mechanism to route the request to the associated actions. When we're accessing any website, we could send a request to the server by entering URL path directly in the browser address bar or through a link. When we do this, here in headers, besides request URL, we can see the request method, in this case, get method. When we send the request to the form, the request method might be post, put, patch, or delete. So in our server, or in our Laravel app, we need to kind of map a certain request with appropriate action. For example, when someone accesses basicapp.taste, we will show welcome page or main page. When someone enters basicapp.taste/product, it will hit our database and return back an HTML response contains a list of products. Or when user submitting data through this URL, it will hit our database to insert new product and return back HTML response contains new data. So if we open fresh Laravel app, we'll find a routes folder. In there, there's a couple of files, but mostly we'll use web.php for defining routes of our website and api.php where we define our API routes. For now, let's focus on web.php file. So if we open it, here we'll have a route defined. The structure of a route definition is very simple. Basically, it maps a request with a response. It starts with route : followed by request method. In this case, the request method is get. The method receives at least two arguments. The first one is URI, while the second argument can be a cursor or a string. In this case, it receives a cursor which will return a view as a response. So here, every time a user sends a GET request for the route, it will return the view welcome. Views are a presentation layer of the application, and we'll discuss the topic in upcoming lesson. Okay, here, let's define our own route. The URI is gonna be products. Then, inside the cursor, we're gonna return a string like so. Note that the / in the beginning is totally optional. If you omit that, like this, it should be fine. Now if you save this and visit in the browser, here I get all products message. If we try to enter an existing route, let's say products create, we'll get 404 error. Now let's go back to our editor, and here let's define another route. The URI is gonna be products create, and inside the cursor we'll return a string add new product. Now, if we refresh the page, it now shows us add new product message. Now, what if you want to have dynamic URI? For example, products 1, products 2, product 3, etc. So to handle this, we need to define something called route parameters. So let's define a new route. The URI is going to be products. And then, to make the part of the URI dynamic, we can add curly braces, opening and closing, and then in between, we'll specify a placeholder. The placeholder should consist of alphabetic characters and underscore. So it could be ID, product ID, or whatever. In my case, I'll call it product in singular, just to follow the convention. Then, in the closer, we can specify any argument according to number of parameter that we define in the URI. In this case, I'll define an argument, product. Inside the closer, I'll show the product in the heading. Now if we save this, then visit products 3. Here we get back a response. If I change to products 1, products 2, here the product is changing. In the real app, we might hit our database to find the product by provided ID or other column. Alright, before we end this lesson, let me show you Artisan command, which I think very useful when you're working with routes. So here we can type PHP Artisan route : list, hit enter. Here we'll get back all information about routes in a table. It contains domain, method, URI, name, action, and middleware. You can also compact the table, only contains method, URI, and action by adding -c flag. You can also filter your routes by path. For example, I just want to show only products routes. Path equals products. You can also reverse the ordering of your routes by adding +r flag. Okay, that's it for this lesson. We've learned routing in a glance and how to define our routes in Laravel. You can see more details about routing by accessing this link. Alright, let's move on to the next lesson. We're gonna learn about requests and response.